So, about 2 weeks ago, we made a video talking about Nashville Predators center Ryan O'Reilly. And we went over some speculation as to why he was moving on from the Toronto Maple Leafs despite signing a contract that the Maple Leafs might have been able to afford. He went from St. Louis Blues Conn Smythe winner to a 2022-2023 in St. Louis where everybody was kind of down in the dumps to getting traded over to Toronto and performing fairly well and then leaving in free agency. So the Maple Leafs essentially traded for 24 games worth of Ryan O'Reilly, where they actually did get some value out of him. It's just the fact that he left and the fact that he had signed a $4.5 million AAV deal with the Nashville Predators for 4 years. It kind of stung. And we made the video 2 weeks ago going over some speculation. It was all the rage, but essentially what we concluded from that video was that Ryan O'Reilly was in a position where the spotlight of the Toronto scene was not his vibe. Sometimes people just don't like it when they can't walk down the street without getting recognized. They're celebrities. I said this in the video, I'll say it again. If you're a Toronto Maple Leaf, you are more popular and more famous in that city than a whole bunch of the guys who are acting and getting Canadian Emmys and who are doing stuff on TV or weather reporter, whatever. If you are a fourth-line player on the Maple Leafs, you are way more popular than a bunch of other people in the mainstream media. And for Ryan O'Reilly, of course, he's no fourth-line slouch, but he was definitely thrusted into that spotlight, and he experienced that firsthand. This is why we're going over to an interview done with Ryan O'Reilly on First Up 1050 from earlier this week, because what the folks on the show did was they straight up asked O'Reilly about this spotlight and about the pressure, about why he decided to leave Toronto. Now, the 1 minute and 12-second clip is going to be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read this, but essentially, O'Reilly goes out there and confirms why everything went down, and it's not all too different from the stuff we had talked about 2 weeks ago. Essentially, within this clip, Ryan O'Reilly doesn't directly say it's only because of the spotlight. He says there were multiple things that went into it, and it's not just that spotlight. The spotlight is the word that they used when they asked O'Reilly the question. And he does go out there and say, it wasn't the ultimate decision there. I think so many things come into play, but yeah, I think that is a factor as well. It's different. It's something I did enjoy for the time there, but I just felt it was better to be somewhere else. This is why we had talked about the Darren Dreger comments from 2 weeks ago, wherein the Maple Leafs did not re-sign O'Reilly and it was not an issue of money. It was just O'Reilly just straight up saying, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. But it's good, at the very least, that Ryan O'Reilly did end off this interview by saying some very good things about Toronto. He talks about the amazing pieces they added and how that team is so good. He talks about the positives of what the Maple Leafs are building and their direction, all this good stuff that NHL players like to rinse and repeat about former teams. And he said that it was good to go out there and play for his hometown province and suit up for the Maple Leafs, the big, bad, grand Maple Leafs. How there are a lot of great things about playing there and how they treated him right. And if I'm going to be honest, they did treat him pretty well, because Ryan O'Reilly did not have a lot of the same woes that we had seen out of other top guys playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs in the past little while, especially in that second round series against the Panthers. All the discourse about Ryan O'Reilly after coming over was, hey, this guy is scoring now. In St. Louis, he had 19 points in 40 games. In Toronto, 11 points, 13 games. Significantly better point per game number, and he's not even the top line center on this team. He's just going out there, playing the right way, he's scoring some goals, he's making some plays, and Ryan O'Reilly instantly became one easy MFer to root for, even if you're not a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And so seeing him just stay true to what it is that he values, we said this in the last video, but sometimes people just don't like the spotlight. Sometimes people just prefer more rural areas that are not as densely hockey-centric as Toronto is, and you don't want to have 20 microphones in your face in the middle of a regular January day when you're coming back from a long road trip. You want to be able to just chill out, and sometimes guys prefer that over the big spotlight. Of course, the rock star life is, for some people, like, it's kind of a miracle that the Maple Leafs ended up finding a bunch of guys in Tavares, Nylander, Marner, and Matthews, who all embrace that sort of attention, they embrace the competition, they embrace the pressure. Sure, you could say that some of these guys have better ways of handling that pressure than others, but the fact is, they've stuck around here, they've dealt with it, and they have embraced it. O'Reilly, not in the same boat, but that's okay, everybody's different. So, seeing him go over to Nashville and actually be open about this in the media, it's a pretty refreshing sight to see. Just seeing a guy directly say to the sports outlet back where he was from, hey, yeah, this is why I didn't sign with your team, I was kind of feeling like this. It's a lot different from what we're used to when we see guys end up leaving teams. And hey, when it comes to the potential for winning, because that also has to be considered as well, O'Reilly did have some other comments saying that, hey, why can't we contend? Why is it not a possibility for the Nashville Predators to go out there and make a splash next season? Maybe squeak into a wild card or something like that. He didn't say that verbatim, but that's just kind of the general idea he conveyed. So for Nashville, I don't want to say you guys got some pretty high expectations, but internally you guys have some pretty good names attached to that body of leadership. Luke Schenn, of course, is the other big one, acquired by Nashville from the free agent market. And you still got Gustav Nyquist too. Yeah, remember that guy? He's a Predator. I think a lot of people might have forgotten about that. Tyson Barrie, Ryan McDonough, there is a good enough profile here that if you're able to get the best out of UC Saros, then I really wouldn't be surprised if the Predators found themselves in a much more competitive spot next season than they had this previous year. And heck, even last year, they didn't finish all too poorly either. I mean, they were just outside the wild card. They missed by 3 points. That's not that bad. So add on O'Reilly, lose out on Johansson, see what else you could do with the other names you added, and we'll see where the Predators are able to go. But ultimately, Ryan O'Reilly confirmed to TSN 1050 why it was that he decided to leave the team. It was a multitude of reasons, but the spotlight was definitely one of them, and it's one that he does not discredit was there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Ryan O'Reilly and the entire conversation we had today. Does this kind of change your perception based off of how we had talked about things 2 weeks ago? Because 2 weeks is not an extraordinarily long amount of time, but it is enough time, I feel, to let things settle. We all talked about this last time. We said, yeah, spotlight, just the attention, maybe that's not what Ryan O'Reilly wants. How does this new conversation, where he directly says it himself, does that change your perspective in any way? In the previous video, we also talked about how this O'Reilly situation makes John Tavares appear in a better light because that guy fully embraced the pressure, the spotlight. He is the captain of the team. He is the head of the ship. And he's taken that entire role in stride the past few years. So does this reflect even more positively on Captain Johnny T? There are a multitude of conversations to have about this, but really, it's not anything new when it comes to the idea itself. We're all kind of aware that Toronto is crazy market hockey centric. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Ryan O'Reilly and the way he decided to leave. Thoughts on the contract, thoughts on the Predators, and whether or not they can make the playoffs. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.